We are live.
We're live.
Finally. The day has come.
Yes.
We are finally here live. Thank you for joining us, whoever is joining us or whoever's going to join us. I know it takes a little while for people to
Get the
look at the link.
notification we're really happy to do this, and we have some crazy stories coming up. But if you don't see this live or whenever we are doing this, we will have it up on our YouTube channel, probably Spotify, right? And on our Instagram page. So make sure that you are following us on those socials.
And Facebook.
And Facebook. Yes, I forget. We just
I always forget about Facebook.
Yes, at It's a DS Thing podcast. On Facebook, is it still podcast? It's
yes.
Okay, so everything is at
the same.
It's a DS Thing podcast. Yes.
Yes.
So we'll be on there. We'll put that on there too. But thank you for those of you guys who are joining us, will join us. We'll see this. We hope this is helpful and most of all fun.
So you might know already who Matthew is because we saw him in a podcast that we had. Well, that they had.
Yeah,
it was really good. You've seen them on Reels also, on the podcast if you're following us on Instagram. But those of you that have not, this is the other half of Miss Evelyn here. And so thank you so much for joining us. I know he's going to give some really good insights because it's always like girls commenting, but when you have a guy,
it's true.
It's a good thing to have a guy's perspective.
So,
what are we gonna do? Why are we here? Maybe you saw the title of the video, and we're trying to do different type of content here, and today we're gonna do something different, something that we haven't done in the past, but we want to get to talk about, for you guys to see our personalities a little bit more, probably see our point of view, but the first thing I want to say is that I don't know how many of you guys know what Reddit is. Evelyn doesn't.
I did not. I knew. I will say I didn't know and had heard of it, but I didn't know that there's
how it worked.
Yeah, how it worked, or that there's stories. And every time that would you search something up about how to do something?
Sometimes, there's some answers on Reddit. A lot of times they got all sorts of forums for every topic in the world. And
and I was crazy. I don't want to follow their advice because what if it's not, good advice? But he's Matthew's no, it's a legit thing. And I was oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was a whole bunch of scammers or something.
No, it's not scammers. It's memes and
no, not at all.
It's not scammers.
No, not at all. It's crazy. Reddit is a whole world. You go in there and you could hear all sorts of things and look for anything. And the nice part about this, just in case you want to explore more into Reddit, is that you could go in there and place things that nobody will know who it is. Let's say Evelyn puts something embarrassing that happened to her and it's how do I get out of this? She doesn't have to put her name and nobody will know. She could even use fake names and she could ask for advice and nobody will know who you are. You don't even have to put a picture or a face or anything. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. And so you'll receive a lot of comments and a lot of advice from people that have gone through similar situations, and you choose the best advice you think. So it's a whole world right in there. I mean, you go in there and you could be there hours looking for stuff and looking for answers and stuff. So, but today we want to take advantage of some of those stories that could apply to our content or to things that maybe we've been through. And we want to hear, we're going to be giving our insight, what we think, what we would give advice to someone that may be going through a similar situation. So I'm going to be reading those stories and everybody's going to give their point of view or what they would do. Some of these stories are about relationships. So that's why I have the dynamic duo here with us, because, who better to give those insights than an actual couple. So we have a little bit of relationships within the church, another story, and another story of, like of university life. So the first one is, and here I'm gonna be reading, and then we'll be commenting, and we could see our reactions. By the way, Evelyn or Matthew, they have not seen these stories. I have.
Yeah.
So this is like genuine reaction of them, because I read the whole thing, and Evelyn, something happened there that she didn't receive the email. But this is going to be a genuine reaction of them. So let's start.
Let's see what these stories are about.
Yes.
I'm excited and nervous.
Okay, so the first one we have here is by Frosty Depth. That's like the surname or stuff like that. And it says, it's like, hello, I could really use some advice. So I, 24 female, grew up in a Christian household, but stopped going to church in college and had a phase of questioning my faith. I recently had a coming back to God moment and committed to giving my life to the Lord and want to serve him in whatever my calling in this life is. Oh, that's good. Long story short, I started dating my first Christian boyfriend, 29 male, for about 2 months now. There were a lot of things that happened that made us agree God brought us together for a reason. And we've been really intentional in exploring the purpose and vision God has for us to serve as a couple. We had a lot of deep emotional and spiritual conversations, and also agreed to save sex for marriage, but have fallen short at times. I don't know what that means. We ultimately decided that it would be best for us to have stricter, so more strict physical boundaries and save kissing and cuddling for marriage. It was a hard decision, and for me personally, I was able to do all of that without wanting more. But he struggled a lot with lustful thoughts. So, in order to support each other's walk with God, we started implanting these boundaries. It's still a new thing, but I can't lie and say I don't feel the emotional distance. We saw each other 2 times after this, and it was kind of awkward for both of us. I feel like we were both acting cold as a way to hide how hard we are fighting for the temptation. It's also a stressful period for us at our separate jobs now, so we don't get to spend a lot of time together. We both want to be intentional and connect more spiritually to read and pray together, but sometimes timing is just hard to work out. The whole Christian dating is still new to me, but I feel really confused sometimes and wonder if he's even interested anymore. I'm naturally outgoing and a flirty person. I had actively tried harder to tone it down around him, and now it just doesn't feel that natural or comfortable. It doesn't feel like we're in a relationship. I know it's healthy to set emotional and physical boundaries, but what happens when, after all that, you start wondering if the other person or you are losing attraction? It's just so hard to express affection when both of us, our love language, our quality time, and physical touch. And we haven't been able to do both with our schedules now. What are some other ways you guys deal with this? Would love to hear some insight.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So this girl, she obviously, like, I feel that when she said that they've fallen on it, so maybe they've passed the physical line that couples shouldn't pass. And so she's like, they both agreed to, to keep some distance when it comes to that. So, so they won't fall into that again because they want to save themselves for marriage. But now it's affecting their relationship. And so what to do next?
I want to say something that popped in my head as you were reading it.
Yeah.
Our friend, so we had another episode before this, and it's a little different, obviously, because it's he was dealing with homosexuality and the feelings of it.
Yeah.
And something that stayed with me was that when he was living with his boyfriend at the time, that he said before he felt like he needed to do anything, or he would pray. He's like, he invited God to it, and that would give him the strength to not go through with it. And he had this conviction still going. So I think I think anytime maybe there's thoughts, because the girl mentioned that the guy was having lustful thoughts.
Yeah.
I think anytime there's thoughts, I think our initial reaction may be to feel shameful at the moment or to act them out, or to feel um, like, oh my goodness, like I want to stay away from God. I want to steer away from God for a second, like put like a wall between me and God because I feel a little shameful that I am having these thoughts. But I think if they acknowledge that and they're like, hey, I am feeling this way. Hey, like I'm being real. Let's talk it out for a second. I think, and then you actively pray instead. I think it may reduce those feelings because those like thoughts and those emotions are emotions.
Yeah.
And one thing that our therapist has said was like, how does she explain it? Like the emotion thing in our brain.
Oh, like basically when your brain is not, when you're feeling like dysregulated, your kind of decision-making center isn't really online. And so when you're feeling like emotionally heightened isn't really a great time to be making decisions. And so generally kind of waiting to make that decision until you get yourself a little bit more regulated is generally helpful.
So, and she did like she's like, this is your brain with the logical cap on it. And then this is your brain with like, this is your emotion inside. And so when you're dysregulated, like your cap is open. And so like you go through the emotion and it make all these decisions, right? But when you're more logical about it, you start thinking about it and you start kind of thinking through the process of it. So like with this couple, maybe it would be good like to talk it out and to like just acknowledge the fact that they're having these thoughts or that he's having these thoughts and like sit down and talk about it. Maybe that cap will come back on. I don't know. I think that's the first thing that came to my head when I was listening to you. That's like prayer and like actively praying instead. And I'm not one, I feel like, to quickly like go into prayer for me. And this is something I've been working on. But for me, I think like it takes a little bit for me to like, okay, I guess I will go and pray about it. But I know Matthew's really good at like praying. And so for some people, it may be a little harder to get into that, to have that initial reaction of praying. But I've realized through my friend, again, his episode is out, one of our episodes from the Unveiled series, and called New Identity or something like that. And he talks about the power of prayer through his process and how that was like crazy helpful for him. So that could be, I mean, I know it's so generic and a lot of people just say, just pray about it. But maybe like in these steps, maybe that could be a thing. But yeah, it sucks having to like then not feel close. What would you say?
I think to start, they would need to have a conversation about if they're on the same page about their goals and values here. Like, is he committed to making the changes that she is? Or is she committed to doing this and he's kind of could go either way? Because I think if they both don't fully commit to it, it's not going to happen. If that's a deal breaker to one, then they need to figure that out now. I think if they're both on the same page, she's just struggling with it a little bit more. That's a whole different issue. We saw a sermon a while back where the now pastor was in this situation when he was younger with I think he was not in the church, started dating a girl that was kind of in the church, and then they both came much more into the church while they were together and they were struggling with this. And so they just got married, and he said that was not the answer. It was way worse because they got married just to avoid the urge to have sex, and they really weren't ready for marriage, and so that wasn't the right idea. And I think in the Bible when it says if your right eye offends you, cut it out, or whatever, your right hand offends you, cut it off. I agree, but I don't think that necessarily has to cut off the whole relationship unless they're not both committed. Because I think if a person doesn't mind causing their partner to stumble, I think that would apply here. I think if they're both committed, they just need to find a solution. And the more I learn about all sorts of problems that people have in life, is plugging into God really is the answer. Like so many addictions, so many mental conditions, and I'm not discounting at all that there's mental illness out there and you need legitimate help with that. But a lot of times people, they have a lack of connection to God, and that causes a lot of other symptoms. And so very often that's not the root cause, but it's a symptom.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's normal to desire your partner. If they didn't have that,
Yeah.
probably something's wrong. Um,
Yes.
good that they have that. They just need to learn how to deal with it for the time
Yes.
being. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that's really good. I was thinking of like his problem with like having lustful thoughts and stuff. Like Matthew said, like that can be very normal, like in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You would want to. Even again, I keep referring back to that episode with our friend Daniel, but he also said that like he had his desire for his now wife actually, and yeah, so that's very normal. But I would say like maybe avoiding, like, think about what you're watching, think about what you're listening to, think about the things that you're putting in your mind, because that can lead to something.
Yes.
And like Matthew was saying, like plugging into God and like, but what does that mean? And so I know that when I've been able to, I've been able to have more self control when I've been really like studying the word and like filling myself with like devotions, filling myself up with like sermons, filling myself up with like when we were reading a book of the Bible per month. And we've kind of stopped on that, not gonna lie, but we want to continue with that. And that's really brought a big effect and really impactful. It's been really impactful in our relationship, and I know that that's helped us. Like we've seen a lot of progress in our relationship when we're both studying. Like it's actually like night and day in our relationship and the way that we interact too. What is that quote that they said like about reading the Bible a day or something like that? And
The study?
yeah.
So if you read if you read the Bible once, twice, or 3 times a week, it makes almost no difference in your life. They studied and they pinpointed a bunch of different like variables, and with addiction, with depression, all sorts of things that made no difference. At 4 days a week, it shot up where like 70% of these things were like, there was like a reduction by about 70% in depression, addiction. That was both sex addiction and substance abuse.
Yeah.
From there. And so most people don't read their Bible 4 days or more per week, and it continued to go up a little bit after that. So I think that's a good place to start. It's also an interesting choice of words that he called it lust, because I don't know if what he's craving is his partner or if it's just sex. And I think there's a big difference there. Because I think God can bring people together and they're going to crave each other. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, which it would be. But if he's just craving lust or if he's just craving sex, that might be a whole different issue that I think needs to be fleshed out and figure out what's going on there.
And that's why maybe you need to have a conversation at the beginning to figure out what it's about, and if you are on the same page or if there are issues that need to be addressed.
Yeah. Like, does he just really desire to be with her so bad that he's having a hard time with self-control, or trying to fill a hole with sex and other things that's never going to fill it up?
Yeah, I think these things have to be clarified with a partner, like you were saying. We don't have all the details, but what I did want to say and just mention, you guys mentioned it too, the part of self-control, I feel it's very essential when you're having a relationship, especially as somebody that has convictions and is a Christian and believes in the Bible and all these things. Because one time I was hearing the sermon that, and this is like becomes working on you before you find a partner, is like being good with all these things is very important. Because I was hearing this sermon the other day that it said, whenever you learn to control your eating habits, you'll be able to control anything in your life. So it starts with that. It starts with the food, because unfortunately that's like our weakest link for, I think, everyone. It's so difficult, because things taste good, and usually the thing that we enjoy the most is the one that damages the most.
Yeah.
Because we live in a world where everything is processed and everything is going through so many things. But when we're strong enough to say, I am gonna, for myself and for my well-being, I'm gonna refrain from doing this, and I'm gonna control myself, and the food is not controlling me. I control what goes into my body, then everything else will be able to control. Because when we have these desires, it's also it's self-control of ourselves, and placing limits and saying, I love this person so much that I want to do things right, and I am willing to like work in me and put boundaries on here, to be able to have a healthy relationship. And it seems that there's like a conversation need to have, because I think they have like both extremes. First, the extreme of not respecting each other because they've fallen, and then the other extreme of like not even seeing or touching each other, which is also bad, because in a relationship, you have to be together. You have to have some sort of, intimacy, whether it be conversation or whether it be, holding the partner's hand or whatever. That's affecting the relationship too. Because, some of us, like she said, my love language is affection, being held, being hugged, being there. And if they're not having that, there's obviously a missing factor that they need to work on. But I also agree with Evelyn where it says, like when you fill yourself of good thoughts, and which is devotionals, the word of God, sharing the gospel, and having your mind just so filled with all of this, there's not going to be space for any of those maybe lustful thoughts. Of course, the desire is going to be there. When you're in love, it's hard to put those boundaries and limits. But through prayer and through doing these things as a couple, I think it's going to be very helpful. And I think there's like so many things and ideas that you could do to bond with your partner, not necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah, you can find something that I heard is you can find intimacy in other ways.
Oh yeah.
Yes. And there's
you can do things outside. You can do things with friends too.
Yeah.
Especially if they don't even have that much time, like they could just plan dates, and there's a lot of room for that. Yeah,
we actually, one of my favorite things that we've done that I think has been very intimate for us has been our picnics. And I don't know if it's because it has to do with food. Just like our picnics, and we talk and we bring our game. I wish I had it here with you guys to show, but it's called We're Not Really Strangers. And it's like this red box, and you ask like intimate questions. And there's like different levels. And so there's like they getting to know you, very surface level questions, and then you get deeper. But that feels really intimate because you're having all these other deep conversations with the person. And for me, like same thing, like my love language is physical touch and words of affirmation.
Yes.
So spending there that time, and for him, it's like what, quality time?
No, it's not quality time. It's acts of service and words of affirmation.
Yeah. And so anyways, like to be there with us, and like we're bringing food, and we just feel like it's very romantic for us. So maybe like finding your niche, finding your whatever feels good for you, in a good space. We also have this adventure book challenge that we've had for a while, and we haven't used it yet because we are doing things outside, but our schedules have been a little bit more busier than usual. But the adventure challenge, you also do things like it gives you date ideas. So it's like a scratch. Like,
okay.
Like you don't know what the date idea is, so you scratch it, and then there's a place for you to like put a Polaroid picture or a picture of you. So it's like a book full of memories when you open it up. But it gives you different date ideas. And so there's
you gotta go do it right then. Like when you scratch it off, you have to do it right then.
Yeah.
You're supposed to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess that's why we haven't started it, because we've been busy. We're like, what if we get something crazy?
And I can't do it? Yeah.
So, but that's something that we should start doing. And I think would be a helpful way to have fun in a healthy way where you're doing things outside. I know there's like different versions of it. So there's even one for like married couples. I think there's even one for like friends.
Oh, wow.
Or for self. I can't remember.
Oh,
But yeah, so
there you go.
like that.
Those are options.
Time. Yeah, you have like dedicated time for yourself. Because like you said, Janet, like going from one extreme to another, and like no wonder you feel so blah in the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, because like now she's saying that they feel awkward. It's because of like, should I hug him? Should I not? Should I kiss him? Should I not? It's like, what do I do? And he feels the same way. And so that shouldn't stop the spending time together, getting to know each other. That that shouldn't stop. That should remain. And I think they've gone to the other extreme. So hopefully, she's able to find a solution that brings them closer to God, because you don't want to also say, oh, like I decided to become a Christian and now, all these limitations come in because she doesn't have such a long time coming back to the church. So she finds these things challenging, because I don't know if she had relationships before where when she wasn't a Christian, she did. And so, it does require a lot of prayer if they want to do things right. And we're hoping that if you hear us today and you're in a relationship, you consider all these factors and also say, you know what, I want to do things right. I want to do things the way God wants me to do it. And so I want to put these boundaries, but at the same time, work in my relationship. And, these tips that Evelyn and Matthew gave, really good tips that you could also apply. Maybe Evelyn, later on, you could put like some posts of what you use in our Instagram, so people could know where to get it or if they could implement it into.
Yeah, because as I hear you talking, I'm thinking of some other things that are good, like friendships and the kind of people you're hanging out with and stuff like that. So I think if you want to know more about them, we'll have like a little post. You should follow us on our Instagram, and it's a Diaz Thing podcast.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, this was the first story. Thank you, Matthew, for joining us. It's always a pleasure to hear you, and we hope to have you more often with us.
I'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will continue with another story. We're still not done here. We have 2 more stories to go. While Evelyn fixes her camera.
I'm sure. Okay.
Yes. We are going to continue, and we're going to give. Also, I wanted to say, if you're watching right now, please leave us a comment, or if you have advice for these people, leave it down there. Because maybe we could also get some ideas, and for other people that maybe are going through something like this. Could also be helpful. So you are the voice, not only us. We all are commenting.
I want to hear from you guys too, because there's some things that maybe we didn't say.
Yeah,
would still love to.
Yeah. And if you want to know something else from Matthew, also you could.
Write down any questions.
You can write questions here. Oh, we want to have Matthew more. Oh, we should do this. Any ideas? We're open, guys. We're open. Okay.
All right.
So, the next one has to do a little bit more with church dynamics. Ooh. So this is The Wanderer. And the title of the story is I Feel I Don't Belong in Church. So it says, for a long time now, I have been feeling like I just don't belong in church, despite being a member my entire life. I've been trying to figure out why I feel like this. This post is more of a cry for help to reconcile these feelings. I'm trying to organize my thoughts carefully, but please bear with me if they are incoherent or confusing. To be clear, I am still an active member of the church. However, I do have issues I really need help reconciling. For context, I was born into the church and I live in Utah. I'm currently attending my local YSA ward. My current stance between me and church is that I believe in the gospel and believe in the church in its intended function as means to obtain necessary ordinances and perform priesthood actions. So I believe he's like a Catholic or something like that. And the other ones, I go to church for the purpose of partaking of the sacrament, nothing else. However, despite this, I still feel like I don't belong or that something is somehow wrong with me. After thinking about this for a while, I have concluded the following reasons are what make me feel this way. It says the first one of his reason, he's like in group and out group dynamics. Um, He's like, now, before you tell me to read President Nelson's talk about not subscribing to different labels, I have already read through the talk. I agree with everything he says. However, to suggest that everyone will magically become more open-minded and kinder from one talk is frankly ridiculous. As for me, as a personal experience goes, nothing has really changed since that talk was given. In my experience, I have definitely been in the out group. So, so he explains a little bit about the groups and how he doesn't feel part of a group, and that there's several groups in his church, but he doesn't. I mean, they do invite him, but he doesn't feel part of it. So it's a long post, so we could move on. The second one that he thinks is that the us versus the world narrative. This is an extension of the in-group and out-group dynamic, but on a longer scale, it really bothers me to see members of the church who treat others outside of the church as inferior or lost. The gospel teaches that everyone is a child of God, yet some members think that this only applies if a person is in the church. And 3 is anti-intellectualism. So he says here, okay. He talks a little bit about like having education versus not, and how there's like people, the stigma of certain people. They don't consider them because they have knowledge more on like philosophy and education and stuff like that. And so he feels that there's like a separation there. And then he has a miscellaneous one. He's like, some reasons he feels he doesn't belong: not being able to attend seminary due to needing to focus on school and college, not attending church activities often, so he doesn't go to all the activities because he doesn't have the time, not feeling the so-called spirit the same way others seem to feel it, not liking my 2-year mission. Apparently his church, you have to do a 2-year mission, and he's not enjoying that, or he doesn't want to do that.
It sounds like Mormons.
Yeah, he might be a Mormon. I feel like I don't belong in the church due to who I fundamentally am as a person. I still believe in the gospel, and maybe that is the only thing that matters. But when the church itself seems to bring pain and negative feelings to me, I just don't know what to do. I merely attend church because I need to for the ordinances, but it's still a hard thing for me.
Okay.
He wants to talk. Let her talk.
Well, something just now that you read stood out to me. That what was his reason for joining church? That last sentence that you read, can you read it again if you have it? Something about like,
yeah, I just don't know what to do. I merely attend church because I need it for ordinances, but it's still a hard thing for me.
Okay,
I guess, so I don't know if he has to be ordained like a minister or something like that, or a level. I don't know.
Okay, so I think that all itself kind of explains maybe
the whole post.
Yeah, because he's saying I need to attend church, not I want to. Not I want to have a relationship. I think your motivation behind why you're doing this is a big thing. Makes it the biggest difference. Some people say like, well, I want to go to church so that I can meet the one, or I want to go to church so I can so I can socialize more, meet more people, create a friend group. So like, what is your actual reason to go to church? What is that, your motivation behind that?
Yeah.
And I think once you figure that out, then some other things might fall into place. Mm-hmm. But I think, obviously going to church is about having that relationship with God. And we've heard the saying a lot of times that like, we don't go to church to like really
for people.
For people. and that people inside the church are also as sinful as you are. So don't feel like you have to be as like you have to feel the spirit, like what you're saying, like other people are. Like, first of all, don't compare yourself to other people because everybody's walks with God are different. And so I think if he's saying like, no, like I want to go to church to have a relationship with God, but I'm also feeling left out, I can kind of relate to that a little bit. And it doesn't feel good. I think like most of my life, I was kind of an outsider. And until I came to college, I finally found some sort of like friend group. But even then, there was with some people I just didn't click. Like sometimes I was friends with one person, but I didn't click with the whole group. And I do better with small groups anyway. So I can see that. And it's like the difficulty of trying to fit in, because I know like Jesus has said that, we can go to church to fellowship, and that it's good to be around people and to have your community. And like, we're going to church also for like service, to serve God, to serve others. And so, it feels terrible when you're like not fitting in or you feel left out. I wonder if there's any other groups, other churches that you could possibly attend to if you didn't have this goal to feel ordained or whatever it is, at church. Maybe you could do that just for the seminary or whatever it is, just to feel ordained. But maybe like your thing is to just, or maybe you could do it like half-time, part-time, or whatever you want to call it. Like maybe you have another church that you go to like to fill up those gaps or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
And you want to maybe just start a group. If you can't fit in with a group, maybe like invite people over to your place and say, hey guys, I'm having this Bible study, or hey guys, we're fellowshipping here and doing like a game night, and like getting to know more people intimately that way.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I definitely feel, well, on the comment you said on the last sentence, I mean, our church obviously works in a different way, but I think we could relate a little bit to it, because, there's things at our church that, like, for example, we have a ministry that's called Pathfinders, and you have to work on your master guide and have to, work really hard to get there. It's like if you're doing a degree when you become a master guide. And you also, like, if you want to become an elder and get ordained, you also have, there has to be a certain level of experience. But all of this is optional. Like, nothing is, you have to do it. All of this is optional. Anybody could be a member of our church and do none of this, and just go and sit down. I really believe that when we're gonna do something like the things that I shared, or for example, like him, I don't think that God wants to force anything on us. Nothing should feel forced or because I have to. Everything should come from our heart and the desire to want to. Because most of the time when we do things because we have to, they tend to not come out right. And we tend to become bitter, and we tend to become, we don't enjoy them. Yeah, and resentful. And so you never want to fall that in your church, because your church should be your family. So you don't want to be resentful in a place where you should feel happy. And so if you're having those feelings towards something that you're being forced to do, you should probably not take it. You should probably take a step back and say, okay, I want to love this place again, and reevaluate and reset yourself. What are the things that I like? Okay, I like the small groups. Like Evelyn said, let me join a group, or let me start my own group. Or I like worship. Let me do that. I enjoy worship. I enjoy singing. Let me go into that. But something that you genuinely love and that doesn't feel being forced. Because if something feels forced, it's just not going to work the right way. It's just not. This is like a testimony, but there has been a very few moments that I felt left out within the church. But those moments, yes, it's not nice. It's not ideal, but I tend to not to focus on that. I tend to okay, I'm not involved, but that's okay. It's okay. I come here to worship God and to just love people, whether they like me or not. I'm gonna be here for people and bless other people, and because church is my life. That I don't see my life without church, and so but an interesting experience that I have that is very different as his, totally different.
Mhm.
But when I started working at the conference and I started traveling, I started to be, if it was a good month, a Sabbath per month in my church. So, all the other Saturdays I was gone. I did not know what was happening. I didn't know new people that were coming in. I was like always lost. So every time I came back from a trip to my church, I felt like an outcast and like a guest
Mm.
because the circle of my friends or the people I would hang out with, their conversation was like, oh, the hermano tal, oh yeah, and we're gonna go to this person's party or their birthday or whatever. And I was like, who are you talking about? Like,
Mm.
what's going on? Who is this person? You don't know? Oh, this hermano, he has like 3 Sabbaths coming. And I'm like, but I haven't been here, so I don't even know who this person is, and they're already like friends with them. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like super out. And then they would say, oh, the program was really nice when we went over here and did this. And I'm like, it's like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? I was completely, yes, I felt like super out of place. And every time I went in there, I felt like a guest because I never knew what was going on,
Mm.
who was preaching, what event was going on. I always felt like an outcast, and it felt horrible. I mean, the people didn't make me feel bad because they were always friendly and loving and brought me in, but I myself felt out of place
Yeah.
because I just so when you disconnect from the church, mine wasn't intentional. It was my job, like I had to.
Yeah.
Um, but when you disconnect from the church or you depart from the church, you're gonna feel more outcast every time
Mhm.
because the least activities you go to, the least involved you get in, it's gonna be easier for you to feel out of place like this person does.
Mhm. And I think, yeah, you make a good point. I think it's all about like attending regularly and making that commitment for that church. I wanted to say too, as you were talking, it got me thinking about how maybe we need to shift the mindset a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean is that a lot of times we go to church thinking, what am I going to get?
Yeah.
What am I going to receive? And yes, we are there to receive like the word of God and you know, receive the Holy Spirit. But I think we make the mistake of going into church and being like, what are people going to do for me? Like, what kind of show are they going to put on?
Mm-hmm.
Um, And I think we need to be going into church thinking, how can I serve?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How can I be a part of this ministry? How can I use my talents to do this or to do that? And I will say like that as a very shy person, that's very hard for me. I think as the years have gone by, I've become a lot more shy. And but it's like I see Janet. Janet's a great example because she's up there like singing, preaching, like in charge of this, in charge of that. And of course, this with everything, there's a boundary and there's a limit. You don't want to take on too much where your Sabbaths
Yeah.
are.
Don't overdo it.
Yeah, is crazy and always busy, and then you're not really resting. But I think if you have the gifts and you feel like you could do something about it, you can. I know like my dad, he would help a lot. He works in construction, so he would like even say, hey, like guys, I can go and help rebuild this part of the church, or like I can help create the sign for the church, or I can do this. And so he was using his gifts in a different way. And then that way, you're becoming involved into the worship team, or you're becoming involved with other people, and you find some sort of community. Obviously it does have to do with it has to do with like the people that are there. Like, are they making you feel welcome as well? But if not, maybe you be that person. If maybe there's somebody else that's in the back seat and they're not getting exposure to any of these groups. So maybe you can be that person for them and say, hey, John, come over here. Like,
I haven't seen you, like, who are you?
Yeah. So maybe shifting that mindset a little bit. I know it's very easy, especially in the church, as a person who has dealt with the victim mentality. And that doesn't mean that we're unvalidating people's and experiences, but I think it can be so easy to get into that mindset of like just feeling like a victim, like nobody comes talks to me, nobody says anything, I didn't feel this, I didn't feel that. Instead, say, what can I do? How can I serve? What I need to find a person that's sitting alone and sit with them. And it takes a lot. I will say it takes a lot of practice and a lot of like encouragement from your part, a lot of courage from your part to like, oh, I need to stand up and like go sit over there. And like for me, like
that awkward moment.
Like I need an extrovert to come and adopt me. I'm usually not the first person to go and talk to someone, but I need to, so I think that's some advice that I can give.
So some advice that he could get. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think we have covered that one up. Mm-hmm. The next one, I'm going to kind of like summarize it because it's pretty long. And some parts I will read. But I wanted to give you the title. We're talking about university life, and I know both of us are out of the university, but we've been there. So I think we felt. I think you will be the one that gives more insight because it talks about dorm life. I never was at a dorm. I would go with my friends and dorm with them, like some nights, but I never had the dorm life experience. And I honestly didn't want it either way. Was something like I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no.
But I had that privilege. I wasn't underage, like when you're forced to do it, so I never got to do it. So
that's kind of nice.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, no, it was exciting at first, and then you like get to realize that there's a lot of things you have to deal with, and then it gets a little complicated. But yeah, for context, I only roomed in the like dorms. For 2 years. And then my junior and senior year, I ended up having a roommate at an elderly lady's house with some caretakers and stuff. And so I was there like helping her out, and she was giving me board.
Yeah.
And room and board, I think is what it's called.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, for context. So hopefully I can be helpful. Continue.
So the title is, and the title gives it away, but the title is "Creeped Out by a Guy in My Dorm."
Oh goodness! Wait, is this in the point of view as a girl or a guy?
As a girl.
Oh.
This is a girl, and she is creeped out by a guy in her dorm. But let me tell you the context. So this girl, it was her first week in college. So she was really excited, that thrive of, oh my goodness, how is college going to be? I'm going to be independent. I'm going to have my own stuff without parents. And, the thrill of being on your own, right? And having some type of independence. She's so excited. So it was the first day. She had her stuff already on her dorm, and she was meeting like people that were there. But it turns out that this dorm, this university, is a little bit different than what we're used to. And in this university, it was more like a house than a dorm. And so there was around 6 people living within the house, and there was some guys and some girls. Obviously, the rooms where the girls were, were private, but in the living room, anybody could go. Anybody could hang there, boys, girls, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And so she put all her stuff. She had friends there, so that was a good thing that she had some friends there. She met friends there, but as the first day, as they were introducing, this is this person, this is this person, this is this person. She's coming in, she's a new one or whatever. They were getting to know each other. They were in the living room. And there was this guy. And so this guy, the introduction was pretty normal, this is him. Oh yeah. And they made the presentation, but as they were hanging there in the living room, this girl, she just the stare that this guy had over her was very, very deep and strong. And he never stopped looking at her. Like anything he did, he was just staring and staring and staring.
Mm-hmm.
She started to feel uncomfortable, but she's like, okay, it's my head, it's probably just me that it's my first day, I'm going through this, so let me just brush it off. And so then she goes to her dorm, and she's like, I'm just not going to think about it. And she goes her daily life or whatever. Mm-hmm. Then during the week, anytime she goes to the living room to hang out or to watch TV or whatever, he's there. And so sometimes there's people and sometimes there's not. And so she's like, okay, it's just my mind. She goes do something else or whatever, or she gets out and goes through the hallway, and the guy at the same time that she goes out goes through the hallway too. And so she's like, okay, this is I'm getting worried, this is starting to be, creeped out, And so the guy always tries to make conversation with her, but she always like cuts him off, like, because she's like, she feels this guy is really creepy. And, girls know when a guy is creepy.
Yeah, follow your intuition, girl.
Yes. And so she starts, getting scared for her. Because I'm like, if this guy like is like obsessed with me or something, I don't want him trying to come into my dorm or trying to, do something else. Because right now it's just that, it's just staring and looking when she comes out, looking when she goes in, and the staring thing never stops. So let me read the last part. She said, he's technically not violated any rules by being where I am. And it's also, he also did this in the kitchen. It's also his kitchen and common area. So I can't make him leave or tell him when he can be there. I don't think he should go away with this. He should get away with this though. This boy who has a thing for Asian girls is in my dorm, keeps hanging around in the kitchen and common room when me and another Asian girl are there. He started leaving her alone when he found out she has a boyfriend and focused on me. It's getting creepier, posting poems under my door and denying it. Asking questions about people become friends with and randomly walking in my room when the door is unlocked. Oh, so he has walked into her room. Because the door's unlocked. Not sure how to handle his creepiness, since technically he has the right to hang out in the dorm. When I'm there, even if he bothers me by staring at me and only comes out of his room when I'm around. He doesn't come out of his room when she's not around. So yeah. So she's asking what should she do?
Report that guy ASAP. That's a little too much. Like the fact that he has already, I would say, I don't know why people wait so long to do something when it's already been done. You know what I mean? So like do it as a preventative measure, like take those preventative measures, whether that's like reporting him. I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, but like standing up to the person yourself and saying like stop.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's like no, because they always deny, they'll be like no, what, me, never. No, you want to say like, hey, like stop, whether it's you or not, like just stop, please. If it is you, stop. I will report you. Mm-hmm. I have my suspicions, and or she said that like once she found out that it was like her, like this other girl had a boyfriend that he stopped bothering her, I would get one of my guy friends. True. I would be like, I'll pay you $10. Can you like be my boyfriend for the day? And be like, no, like this is serious, and having like, or have like a guy there with her. I was like, I know this shouldn't be like, it's so sad that like we have to have a guy there with us. Like we shouldn't have like
we shouldn't have to go through that.
Yeah, it's supposed to just be us. But anyways, like if it helps, have a man there with you, have a strong man there with you, and be like, hey, whether, I mean, I guess you don't have to lie. We don't want to promote lying, but just say like, hey, he's my friend. He's right here and he's gonna be also watching for signs. So I suggest you to
Stay away.
stay away. No, seriously, like stop and like walk away.
Mm.
And if some guys are so, I don't want to use the word dumb, but like or defiant and will say like and so what, so what's going to happen, and try to challenge you, be like, well then we're going to report you, like if we haven't already we will do that, and if you keep continuing to do that we will, like, no, this guy is not going to fight you type of thing, but like there will be consequences, or you can just say that like there will be consequences, so please stop.
Mm.
And so I've heard that like facing your stalker per se is good. I know I actually, when I was in high school, I actually dealt with a stalker myself.
Oh my.
It was actually, yeah, it was a little intimidating because he would, oh gosh, I hope he doesn't.
Please don't hear this.
I don't think so. But this person would like follow me, around,
No.
following my car when I wasn't
Ay,
in
ay, ay.
school. But I was able to
No.
confide in someone. And I would always say like confide in someone, like tell somebody, especially someone older, not just like another friend, but
Yeah.
someone like and I know we're adults, I guess, but like an actual adult who would do something. And so I confided in my teacher, and she had her two big football sons, like her sons that played football, sorry.
Yeah.
And they would literally take me from class to class, and like I remember the principal did not care. He said like he has a crush, it's only a little crush, because there will be people that will just say, oh, it's just a little crush, it's just so not harmful.
No.
So don't believe that, because you never know whether maybe
Follow your instincts.
yeah, maybe it is just a crush, but rather safe than sorry.
You never know.
So have like be around people. Don't try to be with people all the time. I would say like if people don't believe you, like if he comes into your, like I would be taking pictures of those poems. I would be like putting little cameras in my room.
Yes.
I'm not even kidding. Like because you never know what could happen, and like locking your door, making sure that it's like always locked. Maybe if you can lock it from the outside. But yeah, like taking those kind of precautions already, maybe carrying like a little like those little alarms with you, that even if he was like, I don't know, I would be this petty. I would like if he was staring at me from across the hall, I'd be like stare right at him and go ring that little alarm.
What are you staring at, boy?
Yeah, no, seriously, like I would be like, I got you. Or like like have him see that you have like that sort of like protection, even if it is just like, let's say maybe this guy isn't wanting to do anything to you and not trying to harm you, but maybe just bothering you, and say like, I will put what's it called, a restriction,
Order. A restriction order.
Yeah, something like that. And like, and for my high school, I did do that. I eventually did do that but that's because I had the support of another adult. And once another adult starts to get involved, the authority figures or whatever, whether that's the dean of your school, the president or whatever, like they will start to take you seriously, because apparently nobody takes a young person seriously, for some reason. But having that support of an adult and seeing that it's a serious matter, maybe they'll start to help you out. But I would say a restraining order is what you said, right?
Yeah. A restraining order. Yeah, I think she does say is like, well, he could hang out wherever he wants, but she does have evidence that this guy has been in her dorm. So she has a poem, she has some notes that he's been leaving. And so I think she has things like evidence enough to go to the RA, to go to the dean and be like, look, this guy He's creeping me out. He's been going into my dorm without my permission. That one, to start off, that's breaking rules.
Yeah.
You know, that's because, like, that's not right. If a dorm is not yours, you have no issue going into a dorm without the person being there. Like, no.
Mhm.
And so I feel that she could go already there and say, this is happening, like, I
Yeah.
don't feel comfortable. I feel uncomfortable. He does this, he does that, and here's the evidence. And she will have that, like, for people to believe, or for the administration to believe in her. And, like, and if they don't want to do something with that, I was like, well, if then please change me the dorm,
Yeah.
change me somewhere else, to another house, because I don't feel comfortable. And if she has to involve her parents, if her parents have to give a call to the university and say, this is what's happening, you guys are not doing anything, so please do something about it, then she could do something like that.
And I can see how that can be a little embarrassing to tell your parents, or to tell, like, maybe somebody that, like the administration or whatever from a school. But that's why I would say, like, have that person that's going to support you, like, someone that you actually trust, that's going to give you good advice.
Yeah.
If you tell a person, they're like, oh, whatever, and they dismiss it, probably shouldn't confide in them anymore, because they're not taking you seriously. They're not validating you. They're not hearing you out. So I think that could be, yeah.
And you shouldn't wait a long time. The longer you wait, the worse things get. I didn't go, like I said, I didn't dorm. So, but I did go through an experience like this, and it was not fun. But, like, and it happened in a church setting, which it could happen anywhere. So don't think that people in church are saints, or they don't do these things.
True.
Like, sometimes things can be painted as if it's something good. But if down in you're like, this is not right, it's because it's not right. And so this happened with a male personality within my church. And he had been always super close to my family, super nice. My family was nice to him, or whatever, and he did say kind of strange things. You always have one of those prophet type of people within the church that they feel that they're the voice of God or whatever. And one thing that really, really creeped me out was, we invited him for one Thanksgiving, and I had Thanksgiving in my house. And then he came in and we shared. My parents were here. I was not alone, luckily. And during conversations here and there, he's like, I'm really surprised that you guys actually trust me enough to bring me into your house. And I was like,
okay, red flag.
Okay. We're like, I don't know how I feel about this. And so, I started getting a little not comfortable, even though my family was there. I don't know if my family caught it, but I was like, wait, what? Then later on, like, church stuff, we were attending church or whatever. And one of these nights on a Wednesday service, I was not alone. Thankfully, my sister was with me. He got close to my car as I was getting ready to leave. It was just me and my sister. And he was like, oh, we should hang out sometime. This is an older person. This is not a young person. This is like a way older person. He's like, oh, I would like to talk to you. We should hang out sometime or whatever. And I told him, oh, I could tell my parents and we could, set up going somewhere. He's like, no, I just want just us, like me and my sister and him, just us. And I was like, okay, which I thought that was. He's like, no, it's because I want to tell you some things that God has told me to tell you, and I don't know what. And I was like, okay. I didn't say yes or no. I was just like creeped out. And so I rolled down my window, and then my sister's like, what a creeper. Like, what's wrong with him? Like, no, you don't do that. Like, what is wrong with him? And I was like, no, that's not happening. In his dreams, that is not happening. And so the first thing I did, I told my dad. And I was like, look, that this happened.
Mhm.
And, like that was so inappropriate. I don't feel comfortable around him. I don't want to be alone with him like in church. So please help me, be with me all the time, like because I don't feel comfortable being
Um,
just just seeing him, me and him like in church alone. I just no. My dad got really mad, and he told the pastor about it, and he confronted him. He's like, I don't appreciate you what you did with my daughter. You know, a man your age should not be invited anybody alone to eat out or to go somewhere. I don't care what your excuse is, that is not appropriate. And I better not hear that you do that again,
mhm.
because that's not right. That is very inappropriate.
Yeah.
And so for the longest time, like my family and his like had like my dad couldn't
Mhm.
talk to him, like because he had that in him, and I didn't even want to greet him because I didn't want him to take it the wrong way, or I didn't know what to do. Luckily, like that he stopped going to church, then he came back, and he never he never spoke to me again or tried to reach out to me or whatever. And the times he did, I always tried to have somebody with me because I did not know what this guy was gonna say, and I didn't feel comfortable being alone. So I totally get it. Like when you just feel off, you just need to follow your instincts and respectfully and manage it the right way, but don't wait
Mhm.
a long time, because the more you wait, the worse things could get, and so you just have to be very careful on those things. And so I hope that she did. I think we have an update. It
Oh,
it's a little
vague.
I'm gonna be I'm gonna be try to be very quick because I know we're running out of time. But um, apparently, a lot of people on Reddit gave her advice through text. So she's going to reference a lot of that advice. It says, I think there are definitely some things here I need to do. I've been talking to some friends to support, and I am planning to reach out to the RA about the situation. So
Okay.
that's a good thing. I don't like the idea of him forcing me to move, talking about the move, but I might request a dorm change if it comes to it. I'll also ask him if they can give me some advice on approaching him and making things clear that I'm not interested.
Yes.
It's been hard to get that message across because he's not tried to ask me out. He just follows me around and posts stuff under my door. Maybe it's a problem that they have dealt with before, so they'll understand. I've also decided to start writing down when stuff happens so I can inform the RA of times and dates. Like you said.
Yeah. Wow.
I should make some proper statements to him that nothing will happen between us, and I am not comfortable with what he's doing. He might just say I'm accusing him of stuff he's not doing, though, like with poems. I really don't understand this guy. This isn't a way to get somebody to like you. It's done the opposite and make me dislike him a lot, of being creepy and racist. Yeah,
Hmm.
like you said, like why are guys so dumb? Like, okay, if there's a guy out there listening right now to us, don't do this, please.
Yeah.
If you like a girl, this is the worst thing you could do. Just don't.
And I want to make a point that sometimes, though, it can be like, oh, the girls. Okay, most of the time, like 99% of the time, I think that, yeah, like girls, if you feel that gut feeling, it probably is right, and you should follow your instincts. But I think it's funny that sometimes it depends on the girl's perspective a lot,
True.
because let's say she actually liked this guy. And so for this guy to be staring at her from far and leaving her little notes, for her, it's going to seem very romantic.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the whole narrative changes.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's why I think there needs to be that, like, talk, that not confrontation, but like just what are you doing? And again, if you get the vibes that this guy is in fact a stalker, and then of course follow that. But I think talking it out with this guy, maybe he's like, oh well, I've been feeling really shy and I actually have been wanting to ask you out, I just didn't know how to do that. And like, that can also give a girl a peace of mind and be like, oh, okay. So yeah, like, maybe I'm not interested, respectfully, I'm not interested, or sure, let's try it out, but maybe like I feel really uncomfortable when you stare at me from far away. Or if you want to leave me like notes, how about don't do that? Or like maybe like we can find a time that we can try it on a date if like the girl is interested or whatever. But I think that changes the plank a lot. And so like having that talk is so important. I mean, just communicate. But I can see how like a girl can be turned away if this is happening constantly. And then on top of that, this guy is like, denying everything and saying, no, 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 I didn't. And like getting defensive. I think that's your first red flag. Like if this guy is getting defensive and denying things, like that might not be the best situation.
Yeah, I think the weirdest thing in this case that she's sharing, is that he was obsessed with another girl in the dorm. The girl just said, I have a boyfriend, and randomly, like the next minute, he started to like this other girl. Which that never talks good about a guy.
Yeah, that's true. That is not.
And so he has already a pattern of being this way, of being kind of stalkerish or following people and just staring at people and not having, so obviously that does not help the case of her being creeped out if he has done that with somebody else.
No, yeah. Like, I mean, I get it, like, or maybe not, but if you want to like hop and like maybe he's been single for a long time and like he really just wanted
I don't know if he has guy friends, because I mean, give him some advice, boy.
Seriously, the person who needs advice is him.
Yes, I'm like,
because don't be everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that never speaks good about someone. But yeah, if you're into someone, or you really find somebody that you like or something, I know the boys have it like the pressure is big, and I'm so glad I'm a girl. The pressure is big, but I think like, I know it takes a lot of courage, and if you're introvert, it's a little bit tougher or whatever, but try to show interest in a different way, through a conversation. Try to be friends before you start writing poems, before you start taking flowers, get to know each other, and whatever her interests are, like, try to go through there, like start being friends, before anything else. And probably it's going to be a safer route than if you just, randomly start going too harsh, even if you have feelings already. But
this guy started at level 100, like take it down.
Yeah. So those have been like the 3 stories. There's a lot of interesting stories over there, but this time we wanted to try it out, since it was our first time doing a live and going into the Reddit stories. And finally Evelyn got the hint, the gist of,
I know what it is,
of how Reddit works. And yeah, so those were the stories that I found that could be helpful to discuss in the live today. We continue, like with our podcast and with the rest of the content we've been putting. We want to remind you once again that we're on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. So all those 4, whatever you like more, go check it out. And we have a bunch of content there, so make sure you catch up. We have Matthew's episode, so make sure.
We have your devotional.
Yes.
That's our most recent episode. And so again, we have like very different things on there. So if you're used to like a short devotional, it's on there. If you want a longer devotional, it's on there. If you want some advice on how to adult, we also have a series called Adulting 101. If you're looking for some content on some controversial topics, we have guest speakers. It's not just us all the time. And we do have, like, Matthew has been a guest speaker for us, and we have a ton ton of other guest speakers, really good stories. We have testimonies out there, both ours and other people's. So make sure to tune in. We want to do these lives more often, like Jen said, and maybe we'll have some giveaways in the future.
Yes. Yes. We're planning more things to interact with you guys. So make sure if you couldn't watch this during the live stream, the video's there. You'll be able to still see it there. Right now, it's going to be directly on YouTube, but we're going to also upload it in Facebook and put it the audio form on Spotify. So you could check it out there. You could send it to friends and just to have a good talk about the story, seeing Matthew's perspective on relationships, which is really good. But yeah. Thank you, Evelyn, for doing this. I know Sabbaths sometimes are difficult, but we made it happen. We made it happen. We got through our Reddit stories.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, guys. And we hope to hear from you guys. Please give us your feedback.
Yes. If you like this, please comment.
What your favorite story was. Maybe comment that. Which one, number 1, number 2, or number 3?
Yeah. Which one did you enjoy more? But anyways, I guess we'll see each other next time. Bye.
Bye.